for Tuesday, the 22nd of November. Thank you everyone for coming along and being here and our guests behind us. Knowledge of the country. Councillor Douglas.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Wanneroo people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and future. We also recognise the strong ongoing connection of First Nations people of the lands and water where we do our work and their commitment to care for country. Now we are here and have been elected by our community to deliver as our elders of our land we are meeting on today have done in the past. With this, I would like to invite you onto our country to deliver as a councillor and acknowledge where we are today.
Prayer, Councillor Leckie.
Almighty God, from whom comes every good and perfect gift, we give you thanks for the blessings you bestow upon us in the Shire. Grant to those who hold office in this council a spirit of justice and truth, of wisdom and charity, that mindful of our responsibility and of the needs of those we serve, we may promote the true welfare of your people, exercise wisely and faithfully the authority committed to us, and advance the common good through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Councillors.
Thank you very much. This evening, councillors. This meeting is being recorded. Thanks very much.
Just to apologies, we'll go through first. We've got an apology for the council who can't be here tonight. Moved by Councillor Drayton, seconded by Councillor Dunn. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And applications for attendance by audio visual lead by Councillors Marshall and Councillors Bowditch. Someone to move that way. Councillor Barry and Councillor Martin. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Confirmation of previous minutes. Moved by Councillor Woodruff, seconded by Councillor Douglas. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That unanimous and carried. Disclosures of any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests. Start down the far end and make our way around.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 5, all in community infrastructure. Item 9.2.1, page 177, the Mount Pleasant Operations Interim Water Discharge Pipeline, Section 138 Roads Act. I have a pecuniary interest in that, Mr. Mayor, as my employer undertakes work for the applicant. 9.2.2 on page 192, Mangoola Coal closing in public roads for a mining procedure. Again, a pecuniary interest, Mr. Mayor. My employer also undertakes work for the applicant. 9.2.3 on page 212, Mangoola Coal continued operations project for the Yarraman Road upgrade. Again, pecuniary, Mr. Mayor. And again, my employer undertakes work for the applicant. 9.2.4, page 217, permanent legal closure as part of Waibong Bus Office Road. Again, pecuniary interest, Mr. Mayor, as my employer undertakes work for the applicant. Item 9.2.5 on page 225, Bengala Link Road Rehabilitation, Section 138 Roads Act 1993, permit approval. Again, a pecuniary, Mr. Mayor, and again, and my employer undertakes work for the applicant. Thank you.
Martin.
9.2.1, page 177, Mount Pleasant Operation Interim Water Discharge. I have a pecuniary interest. We recently at the Land Council received funding from them. And also 9.5.3, page 488, committee name change for the Aboriginal Reconciliation Committee. I have a pecuniary interest because I sit on that committee as the CEO of the Wanneroo Aboriginal Lands Council.
Further councillors on screen, any interest, Mr. Declare, Councillor Bowditch.
Yes, 9.2.5 Bengala Link Road. I am a member of a sporting association that is sponsored by the so mentioned company. 9.2.6, the Hunter Beach draft landscape. The contractor doing that works down there. My daughter is a casual employee 1 day a week with that company doing works. In closed council, 16.3. Again, the tender 2022-045 tender. A contractor mentioned in that. My daughter does this casual work 1 day a week with them. And 16.11 water supply. Again, the company Bengala Mining is a sponsor of an association I'm a member of. They have procurement.
Councillor Marshall.
Yeah, I've got one, but I haven't got the information on it because I can't bring the page up, which is the Hunter Beach one. I've got it in just there because my daughter works for the company that's doing the job.
That's 9.2.6, the Hunter Beach draft landscaping plan.
0.6,
That's
all
it.
right.
Yep.
Have a mayoral minute. In relation to the road network across the eastern seaboard has been massively impacted by the La Nina weather event that we have experienced in the last 18 months. We're well aware that Muswellbrook local government area has been hit by a seemingly relentless wave of flood and weather events in this period of time. Staff have been developing material to help us understand the quantum of this impact. It's fair to say that it has been significant. At this point in time, the estimate is to be 15 million in. The longer the weather continues and the longer we wait to respond, the larger this figure becomes. Efforts have commenced to engage the state and federal government on this matter. We realise the criticality of this issue for current and future communities. We're not alone. A total of 126 of New South Wales, 128 local government areas have had natural disaster declarations within the last 12 months, according to the President of the Local Government New South Wales, Dale Turley. On the 3rd of November 2022, Local Government New South Wales declared a statewide roads emergency declaration, an urgent call for the New South Wales and federal governments to increase their existing road funding commitments in the wake of the floods comes on the back of an estimated 2.5 billion in road damages and a collapse of the local and regional road network. Call on our council to show our support for this move and wholeheartedly endorse the Local Government New South Wales declaration statewide road emergency. The declaration has already been publicly supported by the Country Mayors Association of New South Wales. As a part of the statewide roads emergency, local government New South Wales and Country Mayors Associations of New South Wales are calling for an acceleration and significant increase in funding for 1.1 billion fixing local roads and fixing country bridges program from the New South Wales government. Boost to roadblock grant funding to compensate for the damage of the regional road network from the federal government. New funding to provide councils with plant, machinery and skilled workers to expedite road repairs from the federal government. This situation impacts on all of us and is very real and immediate concern for our primary producers. The local and regional road network is critically enabling infrastructure. It is absolutely vital to our primary producers and the key to keeping affordable food on the table across New South Wales and beyond. Our road network and the road network of shires across the state have disastrous damage. We are facing a task that is beyond the reasonable scope of any local government authority. We face an unprecedented disaster that requires an unprecedented response. We need help. Our community needs help. Other regional and rural communities across the state and beyond need help. Desperately need our leaders to lead. We need to support our peak bodies in their declaration of statewide road emergency. This is an emergency and it's time to seek help. And by supporting this mayoral minute, you are endorsing that I write to the Prime Minister of Australia, Honourable Anthony Albanese MP, Leader of the Opposition, Honourable MP, Premier of New South Wales, Honourable Dominic Perrottet, MP, Leader of the Opposition in the New South Wales Legislative Assembly, Mr Christopher Minns, MP, the Member for Hunter, Mr Dan Rapicoli, MP, and the Member for Hunter, Mr Dave Lazell, MP. And the recommended council appoints that in declaring statewide road emergency. Councillor Douglas moving, Councillor Barry seconding. Sorry, all those in favour, raise a hand. I think it's very critical that we get on top of that for our council to seek extra additional funding. Public participation. We do have 3 people to speak on the items. The first person to speak in public participation is Mr. Damien Gainsford from Pacific Christian School in relation to item 9.1.2, the planning agreement offer.
There's somebody outside the door a minute ago.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Jeff Small in relation to item 9.4.4, the management of trees on roads and public land policy. If you can please come forward to the left of Mr. Small, as we know, just 2 minutes. And questions on that. I'll just before we start, I'll set that.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Small.
Good evening to the esteemed councillors, press gallery and members of the public. I am glad the council has addressed one of the major trip hazards on Henry Dango Drive by applying more bitumen to try and make the footpath more or less hazardous. But as we know, the footpath is not the problem. It's the London plane trees with the invasive roots, lifting the footpath, causing these major trip hazards. I'm just wondering how many more times this temporary fix is going to happen to keep repairing the raised footpath on Henry Dango Drive. No doubt these London plane trees were planted on New England High, if they were planted on New England High outside the council offices or on Brook Street outside the Brook Medical Centre, and they were raising the footpath, will the council keep applying the same solution as they do on Henry Dango Drive and keep applying more bitumen, or they remove the trees that are causing the problem? I just hope the council has the foresight in seeing the damage these trees are causing to council property and keep costing taxpayers revenue to, ratepayers revenue to repair. Thank you to the esteemed councillors. P.S. Here's a solution. Wouldn't these maturing London plane trees look good in the new Olympic precinct if they were transplanted? A win-win for the council and the residents of Henry Dango Drive. Thank you.
Just in relation to that, thank you for your short. We actually did have discussed that, not in relation to a location as such, but we will be investigating moving forward the ongoing construction impediments that it has and the budget in relation to wood trees.
Oh, okay, good.
Any other council have any question? Any statement? Thank you.
Thank you.
Still, no. Okay. The next person we have to speak for us is Mr. Marcus Pescara from the SD Group, from 16.7 Close Council, Project Thompson Street Signal Protection.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and for everyone's time. I guess that we are here because we are delivering a quite crucial and relevant project for council, and we are a small business that it really took us 10 years to build this a small business to be able to manage the risk, especially in RMS projects. So we have more than 40 employees, and we have more than 150 subcontractors, another 100 people in our supply chain. So it's a small business, but we create a lot of opportunity across the industry. And what happened in this project is we priced it originally to be delivered in 4 months, and it took 2 years, and we are still on site. And I guess that we have been working with a huge spirit of collaboration with council to get this project finished and complete as soon as we could, or we can. However, we need to keep in mind that extreme inclement weather, COVID, price increases, shortage of manpower, and the extraordinary inflation that we're facing right now has put enormous amount of pressure in small business that really need support. And at the same time, we believe, and we have been having extensive conversation with council, that we're both responsible for the extra cost. And what we are seeking is support and trying to finalize this project with a good note, because the quality of this project will be outstanding. And financially speaking, the business is struggling a lot, especially in this current climate, and we really need help. We took our time is valuable for the business, but we traveled from Sydney, and I wanted to share that with you guys because we really need it. I expressed that to Eric and Kelly multiple times, but they thought that this is sort of a possible avenue to explore that option and get financial support from council. And having said that, we exhaust any avenue to mitigate that delay. And I think it's 30 seconds. Yeah. So we exhaust any avenue, working collaboratively with Muswellbrook City Council to bring our senior people. I have been on site. I'm the general manager of the business. Dante, who is the construction manager, he's heavily involved 3 times a week. He's traveling from Sydney to here. I have a full-time site manager, the most experienced guy in the business, traveling twice. We have to pay upfront people to be able to engage them, because construction industry is a tough place, especially with local ones. So we have to go there and borrow $1 million to a lender to be able to source that and keep things going, because we have no stock to deliver this project. And we are going to finish in January as we promised, but we really need help. Very much.
I guess I'll start with questioning. Do you, I know it's been inclement weather and COVID impacts. Do you believe that there's been adequate workers on site to do the job?
For the scale of the project, how the traffic switch was set up in the early beginning, yes, because it's a quite intricate project. So RMS has high standards that they don't allow you to proceed with the next stage unless you tick the whole point box. So that means that they're really intricate projects, high standards, and every single layer has high quality, density check, CBR. So it's a really technical space that maybe those that they're not delivering those RMS projects in a daily basis, sometimes is a bit, you get skeptical because the level of requirement is huge.
It's the implication when it comes to the level that we have to provide, but I understand weather can stop it. You try at the right time, but typically I live here, drive past there, and a lot of residents have raised concerns, but I haven't seen more than 2 or 3 people in recent times working around.
For us, it's more cost efficient to attack. We have 5 stages. We price only 3. For us, it's more cost efficient to attack the 5 stages at the same time, but we cannot, because otherwise we disrupt the traffic. The only way to do it and stop any negative impact on the community, especially the McDonald's in the corner, is to stage this project. And that's the stage that was approved by RMS in the early beginning that we never priced for. And in the second price, we did submit the same stages, the stage, sorry, that was never approved by RMS. But what is the science behind it is that it's more cost efficient for everyone because less impact and less time to tackle 5 stages at the same time, but it's impossible physically because you need to keep both directions of traffic going at the same time. Otherwise, the impact on the community and local business is huge. And I guess that council normally and RMS tend to, I guess, prioritize those sort of negative impacts. So they're trying to avoid negative impact on commercials, local businesses, and the community. So to your question, we could, but we could not because the traffic switch approved by RMS did not allow us to.
Yes, Mr. Pescara, no doubt you looked at the site before you signed the contract. It was on highway, we all know quite a bit of the area, the reasons for the work there with the traffic lights. What is it you say? Of course, sorry, I'll step back. We as councillors have to decide where that money comes from our ratepayers. So
yeah,
it's important decision for us. It's not when you refer to council's money, or it's not council's money, it's ratepayers' money. What is it exactly you say? You entered into a contract with council, knowing what the job was, and understanding the cost it has been we all acknowledge that. What is it that you say council hasn't done? Or why is it you say council should wear that cost burden? What is it that we haven't done to fulfill our end of the contract?
I think that is the manage the and we've been being constructive here. Yeah, I think that we are a team. At the end of the day, SD Civil and Council Muswellbrook, they're providing a service to the community. Yeah, I really think that if I look back and I could change something, I would have. I guess that council could have managed RMS expectation much better to understand what is the expectation and translate that to SD Civil. Because at the same time, we did price a project where we thought that all the design was approved. And when we were going to kick off the project, we said, sorry, you can start. RMS has never approved that sort of set of drawings. And that is the part that put us pretty much in 12 months in the limbo. We were 12 months in the limbo. I was working with my engineer for 8 months to get a traffic switch approved at no cost. I didn't claim $1. I couldn't, because we wait for 12 months for council to say, okay, go and reprice a new stages for us to go back, reprice the new traffic switch, which still was 3 of them. Yeah, we understood that RMS approved 3 stages. We went back, we repriced it 12 months later. We spent $71,000. We never talk about this cost because it's all about relationship. We went a second time, we repriced it again based on 3 stages. And then when we were going to start back again, the council said, hang on a sec, you cannot start because RMS hasn't approved the second price, how we were going to address, how we were going to tackle the project. So I think that to be constructive, I think that council could have communicated better and articulate better between RMS and SDC for us to understand better the expectation and make sure that we price it right exactly as per RMS expectation.
Thank you, Mr. Muscara. Obviously, I'll give any details. Of course, it is in place council for us. But the variation you asked for was considerably more than just a holding for, I guess, that period of time when you wait. I mean, you might explain a little bit, it's obviously considerably larger than that.
Yeah, so what happened, this variation is basically driven by multiple factors, but one is the traffic switch. We priced to do it in 3 to minimize and bring that completion to 4 months. Eventually, what RMS forced us to do it is in 5 stages to minimize the impact on the community and the McDonald's in the corner. The second one was the price increase, materials, and we put all the cards on the table. We showed the council and said, that's the quote of this guy when we priced it, and this is the quote right now. So it went up approximately 25 to 30% within those 6 to 8 months, yeah, driven by the post-COVID external economy forces, yeah. The third one was the shortage of manpower. Suddenly construction went nuts and there were no people available, and the people available, they were not qualified enough. And to the mayor's point, you cannot use anyone in RMS. The standard, they are really high. You need to qualify people, you need to train people, you need to educate people to meet RMS expectation, yeah. So this is basically the driven, I guess that the variations that we're trying to claim, we believe that they're legit. We believe that we are both responsible, and as a small business struggling in this climate, we really need help. We really need help from council.
You visited, obviously, you said people are traveling from Sydney to switch. Do you think the location from being in Sydney played an impediment in the costs?
Sorry, say again?
The location being in Sydney, you're Sydney-based.
No, not really, because we rent out 2 houses, and look, we have people locally living here. So I have people credit that they're pretty much my right hand 10 years ago when we started the business, and we have a project engineer expert in RMS. We have a site engineer. He's not expert, but he has been mentoring by Dante and my support on site. So. But the conversation that I have with Kelly numerous amount of time, she was happy with the quality, the delivery, the human part of our team. So that's what I got from you guys.
Further questions? I'll be closed, but Questions? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Just been advised that Mr. Damien Gainsford from Pacific School, Christiansville, item 9.1.2, is here to speak. Gainsford, if you'd like to. Doing the same as other speakers, we have 2 minutes and then questions.
So, first time for me, so welcome everybody. So I'm here on behalf of the Pacific Group of Schools in Pacific Brook Christian School, where we're proposing to move down to the Maitland Road site. We've put a proposal for a VPA through to council to be heard. I guess from my viewpoint, I'll keep it very brief. We are very excited about the program. We're very excited about the project. We see ourselves as being a valuable resource to the school, to the community, being an ex-government principal as well as an independent principal, as well as a Christian principal. I understand the needs of having options for our families, not just for Christian families, but for non-Christian families, and having availability of different educational settings, particularly when you look at, how we feed into the tertiary and secondary sector. And so we've got plans that have been put aside to propose for a VPay to be spread out across a 10-year plan. We are very much looking at linking in with council and partnering with council with this project and for the future as we grow. And that's, I guess, from my viewpoint, that's where I sit, Sharon. I'm not sure if as I said, first time that I've been here and been to do this. Very comfortable talking in front of 400 kids, but talking in front of a group of adults that come from a different way of life. It's a little bit different for us. So, and look, it's been a learning curve for all of us, particularly for myself, because I am learning about, DAs and SSDAs and everything that goes alongside of those things, particularly with the planning proposal that's gone in and having to rezone it. Yes, it would have been more preferential than when we had been rezoned before we bought it, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So I'm planning. I'm hopeful that council will be positive in the plan we put forward, because we are time constrained, because we can't fit where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Gainsford, and look, I appreciate it the first time. It's not an easy job and not an easy task, but we'll appreciate that. But I'm sure there's
questions.
For one, what did you?
That's it. Just with regards to the payments question I asked, and the council officer basically addressed that with regards to the spacing of the payments, reflecting quality of the different stages, as opposed to just a division number, which possibly you might not be able to answer because of.
Look, I think from our viewpoint, it's hard for us to say what the enrolments will be on a natural progression, but we wanted to step it out over the 10-year plan, which was the plan for the master build. So that was what the master plan was.
I understand the reduction of 60,000 to do with the Lobster Street crossing, and that was at that time assumed that the crossing wasn't going to happen. That crossing is going to happen independently, so therefore you're claiming a reduction of 60,000 on that one. But with regards to the footpath along the front, so just clarifying, you're saying as part of your construction process, you're going to install that footpath.
That's exactly right.
Clarifying.
Huh?
Councillor.
It's an interesting question. The report tells us that in front of me, but effectively tells us you're happy for the community to use your car park as an event on across the road. That would still leave the school obviously private. There would be, so you wouldn't. I'm talking the community doesn't just drive in and be open with schools to school.
No.
There'd be a separate fence there, saying the car park would be outside or separate to that altogether.
Oh, the car park would be inside the grounds, but we'd have security for the school grounds to ensure that there's still maintain that. But we want to see ourselves as being open to the community. We don't want to see us as being a closed community to our community. The location of being in Waitman Road, right opposite the showgrounds, for us is a great opportunity for us to actually spread. You know, short of saying the word, but I will say it as a Christian, but spreading the news and spreading our opportunity of actually sharing with the community. We want our community to come into us and utilise the services. So when it gets to the point where we do have our multi-purpose court there, we want it to be a community used source.
I think it's positive. I was just concerned that it would be unusual for a car park to be there and still not to be somewhat secure.
Yeah. We'll see with the kiss and drop going through there. We've got opportunities there to secure that, you know, the site away from there. And as we grow, obviously it'll increase those opportunities there for us to increase the security of the site as it is. Okay.
Any further questions at all? No. Thank you very much for your time.
That it?
Welcome to stay.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
That brings us to business of driving, which is nil. Brings us to item 9, business 9.1.1. As I said, we've got a large business paper and it is on the screen in front of you. The motion that is there recommended for councillors. I have someone to move the motion.
I'll second.
So moved by Councillor Stiles, seconded by Councillor Lakey. Any discussion? Those in favour, please raise a hand. Wait till the delay screen. Thank you. Declare that unanimous and carried. 9.1.2, planning agreement offer for Pacific School, Brook School 72 to 74 Maitland Street, Muswellbrook. We have a resolution there, moved by Councillor Clayton, seconded by Councillor Douglas. Sorry. Any discussion? Anyone wishing to speak? All those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous. 9.1.3, public exhibition planning agreement relating to Dartbrook Mine. Again, we have the recommendation before us. Councillor Lecky and Councillor Sculls move a second. Any discussion? Anyone wishing to speak? No? Commit that motion. All those in favour, please raise a hand. Sorry, Darryl, I cannot. Is that a hand to the? Thank you. That unanimously carried. 9.1.4 land care grants. We have the 3 grants there and the recommendation from council staff. Moved by Councillor Woodruff, seconded by Councillor Barry. Any discussion? All those in favour, if you could raise a hand. That unanimous and carried. 9.1.5 waste extension consultation. I think the staff are taking time to do that. There is a recommendation in the report. We'll get to that one there. 2 options, option 1 and option 2. Have someone wishing to make a commitment to option 1 or 2? Waste extensions.
I'd like to move in the motion that we go with option 2.
Option 2. That's council requests the staff to undertake further consultation with 2 areas outlined in this report. For example, whole community meeting listing posts, allocations convening to residents within these areas, contain phone numbers, property owners, and call each of them to seek a response to the survey. And the last one, conduct a door and knock all the residents within the proposed area. We have someone to second that motion. Councillor Mahajan. Does anyone wish to speak to? Opposed?
If I could, look, I'm not opposed to option 2. I'm concerned though about council's resources. To go around a door knock and call them. my view is community meetings, polling meetings and locations is probably the best way to get a result. I'm just concerned about having to take phone numbers for property owners, call them all, and certainly conduct door knocks if people are residents are interested enough. I think that's certainly been a pretty popular way of consulting with the community, particularly the smaller communities we're talking about, in relation to getting a true response from what we require.
So you propose an amendment to council request that staff undertake, councillor Woodruff.
No, just on back through history, Mr Mayor, where previously when these issues have come up, we've gone to the nearest community hall and had a public meeting and invited all those people, residents along that road on a particular day or evening, I think it was. And those people that came to those meetings had to show some form of evidence they were actually on the proposed extension of the scavenging area. And then council would give a speech, and then people had the opportunity after that narrative was done as to yes or no. I think the only thing that suffered in the technology age is that we don't have a local paper anymore, so we don't have that door-to-door advertisement, and not everybody's happy to be computer literate either. So I think maybe we should focus around that sort of thing where we can call a date in the future, like not next week or the week after, so we can get that information out to the community. Hold an event somewhere close to where the people reside, and then have an informal meeting with probably at the end of it, put your name down, do I want it, don't I want it. I think we should include things like what it's going to cost and what the collection will be, and also to include the upcoming Fargo in it as well. I think the more information got out there, because one thing we did learn from history, Mr Mayor, was if you don't give everybody the opportunity to have a say, the squeaky wheel always deafens the silent one. And we've seen it before where people actually wanted the service, but because they were spoken over at those meetings, it wasn't until we actually had the sign and yay and nay that we found out that the majority of people actually did want the service and didn't want to pay for the service.
Okay, so Jayden, you're putting forward an amendment.
Yeah, the amendment would be to hold, as per what's not numbered as with A or one, but certainly remove the second and third sentence and hold community meetings listing posted locations convenient to residents within these areas.
Yeah, to include though that there's a mail out as well for advertisement to every one of those ratepayers in those areas to attend the meeting.
Beck, can I possibly want to add to it as well?
Okay, we'll hang on 2 seconds. We've got to get through the process. So council Drayton says that council requests that staff undertake further consultation with the 2 areas outlined in this report, for example, holding meetings, listing posts at the locations convenient to residents within these areas, which would include advertising and marketing. Yes. And you're happy with that? And you're happy with that?
I am.
So yes.
My particular point is with regards to public meetings. They are very dangerous beasts if not done properly. I would suggest that in taking the feelings of the people involved, that the individuals supply individually, not secret about it, but by a process of they say, oh, I'm such and such and such and such an address, and I want this or I want that. Definitely don't want a show of hands. Show of hands, you and I have seen it, and have seen it manipulated to the nth degree. A show of hands is a terrible process in a public meeting, because the quiet person who does get ramroded, and we want the views of all the people, and we want the opportunity of all the people.
Sure, staff will note that down as a requirement that we go through that process, but that process can come back through our, surely our events committee.
As long as it's noted.
No problem. So we've got a mover and a seconder for the amendment. Anyone else wishing to speak? All those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. That was please. Darryl, can you just make sure that when you put your hand up, please, that you put it up in front of your face, if that's possible? Sorry, we can't see it to the side.
Stop frightening the children.
Yeah. Okay. 1.1.6, monthly report to council, planning, environment and regulatory services. We have the motion recommendation there from council that the information contained in this report be noted. Moved by Councillor Lecky, seconded by Councillor Mahajan. Any discussion? Anyone wish to speak against? Okay, all those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. Brings us over to 9.2 community infrastructure, 9.2.1. Conflicted. We have the officer's recommendation, points 1 and points 2 there in front of us on our documents and on the screen.
So moved.
Second by Councillor Drayton. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Declare that unanimously carried. Someone can let.
No, they're still going to be conflicted. Maybe Councillor Douglas may not, yeah.
Tell Woody we'll be back in, we'll come back in 10 minutes. Brings us to 9.2.2, Mangoola Coal closing public road. We have the officer's recommendation there. Council using its delegated authority to approve Mangoola closing public road mining procedure for the temporary closure of council public roads when blasting within 500 metres of the road. Moved by Councillor Smells. Seconded by Councillor Babbage. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. That unanimously carried. Nine point 2.3, Mangoola Coal Continued Operations Project, Garman Road upgrade. We have the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Drayton, seconded by Councillor Stiles. All those in favour, any discussion? All those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. 9.2.4, permanent legal closure of part of Wyvong Post Office Road. We'll have the recommendation there. Is there anyone?
I'll carry the cross for that since it's a handed over from my time. I don't get it, but that's.
Councillor Lecky moved, seconded by Councillor Sculls. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. Thank you for your mind. Sorry, Mr. Woody. I think he's still out of this.
They're still on the link road.
He's putting it in the morning. Bengala Link Road Rehabilitation 9.2.5. Bengala Road Rehabilitation Section 138 access permit. Council recommendation there. Councillor Lecky moving. Councillor Barry.
I'd just like to point out you're repairing a bit of a road that I last repaired 12 years ago. Kelly?
Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. I will note the councillor Bowden to leave the room if you can contact him to.
Anyway.
They still got to go. They still got to go because Arna Beach.
Get Woody back in.
Woody back.
Yes, Councillor Bowden, for the SMG, please, Councillor Marshall and Councillor.
Daryl's going to get
It never looks so good.
Bowden to the left.
It never looks so good.
Okay. We have a council resolution there in relation to 9.2.6, the 2019-2020 0404 100 Beach draft landscape planning. Council endorses the draft landscaping design and proposed amendment for 2019-2020 0404 100 Beach project to be finalised for the final design and construction.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Sculls, seconded by councillor Drayton.
Each week, or each.
Any discussion? All those in favour? Raise your hand. Declare that unanimously carried. Councillor Bowditch and Marshall, please, Katie.
Are we done with the Hunter Beach?
Katie's just messaged both, so 9.3 copy and paste, 9.3.1, the street sign lights. Resolution there from the recommendation of council, sorry. Street signs. Anyone wish to discuss, or is there an amendment, which, sorry, let me get to the 9.3.1. Option. Is anyone happy to move the motion? Yeah. Councillor Barry, Councillor Lecky, seconded. Discussion. All those in favour, please raise a hand. Unanimous and carried.
Can we get Glendanic spelled?
Sorry?
Can we get Glendanic Street spelling correctly?
Yeah, mate.
Very handy for manager. 9.3.2 major project status update. Council notes the report, it's the recommendation. Someone to move that. Councillor Woodruff and seconded by Councillor Mahajan. Any discussion? Those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. 9.4 is 9.4.1, the 2023 operational plan, 30th September quarterly review. Council notes the 2022-2023 operational plan review dated the 30th September 2022. Councillor Lecky and Councillor Barry, seconded. Any discussion? Those in favour, please raise a hand. Unanimous and carried. 9.4.2, the 2021 and 2022 annual report. Recommendation there, the council endorses the 2021-2022 annual report, including the audited financial statements. And should the acting general manager be delegated authority to publish the 2021-2022 annual report on the council's website and forward a link to the report to the New South Wales Office of Local Government, Minister for Local Government and Minister for Disability Services.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Cole, seconded by Councillor Douglas. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise a hand. Just 2 minutes, green going down all the time. I think we'll have to bring it up to 5 minutes. 9.4.3, adoption, Muswellbrook Shire Council Community Engagement Strategy 2022. Council considers submissions received during the public exhibition of the draft Muswellbrook Shire Council Community Engagement Strategy 2022, and 2, adopts the Muswellbrook Shire Council Community Engagement Strategy 2022. Someone to move that motion? Councillor Woodruff, seconded by Councillor Bowditch. Any discussion? Anyone against? Those in favour, please raise a hand. That unanimous and carried. 9.4.4, draft management of trees on roads and public land policy. The resolution there for the management of trees on roads and public land policies to be adopted by council. Councillor Lecky, Councillor Sculls. Any discussion? Just a note for Mr. Lysart, look into that for bingo and relocating. All those in favour, please raise a hand. Unanimous and carried. 9.4.5, quarterly budget review, September 2022. Council adopts the proposed changes in the September 2022 quarterly budget review. Councillor Barry, Councillor Lecky. Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favour, please raise a hand. That unanimous and carried. 9.4.6, monthly financial report, October 22. Council notes the financial reports for the month ending 31st of October 2022. Councillor Mahajan, seconded by Councillor Douglas. Any discussion? With the motion, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. 9.4.7, reports on investments held as at 31st of October 2022. Council notes the council's investments as at 31st of October 2022. Someone move that way. Councillor Lecky and Councillor Mahajan. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise a hand. 9.4.8, report on grant funding and community engagement. Council notes the information contained in this report. Moved by Councillor Lecky, seconded by Councillor Barry. Discussion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That unanimously carried. The Denman to Sandy Hollow pipeline project. The recommendation is that council delegates to the acting general manager authority to execute a funding deed with the treasurer as the minister administering section 8A of the Restart New South Wales Fund Act 2011, New South Wales, for the Denman Sandy Hollow pipeline project. 2, authorises the expenditure of council's funds in the amount of $9,575,318.77 towards the project and endorses obtaining a loan for the amount. Councillor Woodruff moved. Councillor
second that.
Drake was second. Sorry, we had a seconder in the room. Apologies, Councillor Bowdy. Anyone wishing to speak? 2 or 4 or against? Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. 9.4.10, Eric Chair, annual report to council. We have a recommendation. Council notes updated provided by the Eric Chairperson, Councillor Lecky and Councillor Dunn. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. 9.5.1, just make an amendment. The council notes the report as 1, and 2, establish an Australia Day nominations committee consisting of to consider the citizens of the year recipients consisting of 4 councillors. Everyone, yep. Someone wants to second that? Councillor Douglas. Give the motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Declare unanimous and carried. 9.5.2, the event steering committee terms of reference. Council endorses the event steering committee terms of reference. Councillor Drayton, Councillor Douglas. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. Wait for Councillor Douglas to leave the room. And just one. 9.5.3, committee name change. Aboriginal Reconciliation Committee. Council renames the Aboriginal Reconciliation Committee the Aboriginal Cultural Inclusion Committee.
So I'm happy to say that.
So moved by Councillor Sculls, second by Councillor Bowditch. All those in favour, if you can please raise your hand, declare that unanimous and carried. One 5.4, community services, information contained in this report from noted. Councillor Sculls.
Just because no one else can put their hand up.
And second, Councillor Barry. discussion, any questions? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Declare that unanimous. Which brings us to minutes of committee meetings, item 10.1, the event steering committee meetings from the 21st of the 9th, 2022 and the 18th of the 10th, 2022.
Yeah.
Councillor Drayton moves, Councillor Douglas second. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Again, unanimously carried. 10.2, the local traffic committee November minutes from the 8th to the 11th, 2022 been moved.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Marshall and seconded by Councillor Bowditch. All those in favour, please raise a hand. Declare that unanimous and carried. 10.3, the audit risk improvement committee meetings from the 2nd of the 1st, 2022, 6th of the 8th, 2022, 13th of the 10th, 2022, and the 17th of the 11th, 2022. We noted Councillor Leckie, Councillor Scholes. Any discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Unanimous and carried. Notions of motion. Neil, councillor reports. Do have one to come from our visit to the listers, which I will put forward to councillors. Any other councillor reports?
You want me to do one on our local government New South Wales conference?
If you'd like to.
The Mayor and I went down to Colvin to the local government New South Wales annual conference a month ago now. We did manage to attend a couple of presentations, or a number of presentations during the time we were there. So we attended some disaster planning, looking at what they're doing around the disaster planning, especially with what's happened at Lismore, looking at best practice improvements that they can make, relocating infrastructure services such as essential services out of bushfire or flood prone areas. So moving things like hospitals out of flood zones makes sense. Also, John Brogden presented on behalf of Lifeline International, looking at the various issues that Lifeline International have been faced with over the last 3 years, between bushfires, COVID, floods, everything else that's gone on. It's been pretty horrendous for them. They did actually make a few comments around rural communities being quite happy to communicate via text more so than a phone call, which I was quite interested to find out. I didn't realise that so many of our rural people were actually quite comfortable to use a text rather than make a phone call. I think potentially maybe it gives them more privacy. Don't know. They also talked about the numbers of calls per day that Lifeline were getting prior to COVID and the bushfires. They were getting 2,400 calls a day. They're now receiving 3,900 calls a day, a lot of that relating to the bushfires. So that shows you the impact long term that something like the bushfires has had. They're getting more phone calls now than they did back then. The other stat that he did quote, so during COVID, when we were all in lockdown, the suicide rate dropped by 5% Australia-wide, and it dropped by 6% in New South Wales. It was an interesting stat, that one. There was also a data analyst down there, and you know, when you hear the words data analyst, really cringe. Pretty dry material when they start talking about data and statistics, and you make sure you've got coffee. This guy was great. He was really, really good. He was funny, he was entertaining, and the stats he gave were really interesting to actually look at where the population is going, and the majority of the population and the majority of where our workforce is coming from and where it is headed to. And yeah, it was interesting to look at what employees are looking for in this current age, things that attract employees, and it's not necessarily all about the coin. You know, having that opportunity for work-life balance, having an affordable lifestyle, it's having those opportunities. So it was interesting to listen to him and what he had to say around that sort of thing. The other thing he did mention is millennial mums, getting mums back into the workforce and providing them with that opportunity to come back. There's nothing worse than going, okay, I've done my 12-month maternity leave. I want to go back to work. How am I going to manage that? So considering that and enabling that is a big part of it. But yeah, the main part of the conference was we had 150 odd motions to get through in a day. So it was a big day. It was very busy. It was constant. You know, we've just had half an hour, 3/4 of an hour of raising the hand. We were doing that for 8 hours. So it was quite busy. The majority of motions were clearly passed with no dissent. So there was no amendments, there was no debate, unless somebody raised a hand, that was passed straight through. So it was pretty quick. You had to keep up. You had to make sure your phone was charged, your laptop was charged, so that you could keep up with the business paper throughout the day. There was a few things that were quite interesting that went to vote. So Singleton's motion around the management of vegetation in river and creek beds, it did go to a vote. It did get up 64% to 36. Another one was around nuclear energy and asking the local government to remove any impediments that prevent nuclear energy as a viable option. Went down. No, 56 against. I took the photo. I've got proof.
I had to double check that.
And there was a lot of conversation around cats and feral cats and the management.
Problems to feral cats.
The management of feral cats. So if a feral cat's trapped, it's required to be held for 2 weeks before it can actually be put to sleep. So I found that one in our community.
Cats make great hats.
Just waiting until Councillor Barry finishes.
In our community, knowing the situation with feral cats, especially around mine sites and that type of thing, and having seen them, I was quite. Oh, I was quite disappointed by that. The next conference will be actually held in Sydney, and a couple of lessons learnt for Muswellbrook Shire Council. Reading back through the business paper and going through that process, we need to, if we put motions forward, we need to give as much evidence and thought as we possibly can into that so that our motions actually get put onto that business paper. So if we go back through and look at this year's business paper and review that information, it was a real learning to sit there and go through that in that process. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot more homework we need to do around putting any motions in. So that was probably the biggest learning we had out of it, was we need to put more work in. Great, that's me.
Just on that, and for the motion on the feral cats came from our metropolitan people. It was more disputed about Sydney. I don't think they realise what a feral cat is as opposed to a stray cat. So that was a taken by. I think we were more talking about stray cats if they came up to the bush. We're on a farm like yourself, Councillor Woodruff, and Councillor Creighton. They'd soon learn what a feral cat looks like, and there's lots of small dogs.
Stray cat is singing.
So yeah, it was
Stray cat's feral cat.
Actually, 50 is right.
So thank you, Councillor Barry. Any other councillors? Okay, that brings us on to written questions. There's 13.1. We have the installation of the safety fence at the skate park, Muswellbrook, and the information contained in the report we noted. Councillor Bowditch, that was yourself. Are you happy with the response? Yes. Okay, and you move that motion? Oh, sorry, it's just, yeah, it's been noted.
It doesn't matter whether he's happy with it or not.
No, I know, but just an update. Are you happy to move that motion?
Yes, move that motion.
Seconded by Councillor Marshall. Any further conversation or discussion? It has to be noted.
I don't think it's a motion.
We have to resolve on that. That's been provided in the motion contained. Just raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay. Questions for the next meeting?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Um,
councillor Bowditch.
Can council look at investigating with the current situation of the current weather patterns, the buildings going along the edge of the riverbanks down there near the vets and the dog kennel and other areas, and with the development of our regional towns getting bigger, water's getting quicker and quicker into the water systems. Can we potentially, sorry for the word, councillors, go out and have a look at looking at the cost of extending a 1/2 metre high concrete retainer wall to protect southern side of Muswellbrook from the Muscle Creek Road right through to down past the vet barn, so as we can protect those houses on the southern side with the events that have been happening in the last few months with the weather patterns and the water getting into the river systems a lot quicker and higher and faster flood mutations coming through.
Sorry, councillor Bowditch, can you just be a bit more specific with relation to where the location is from the vets? Are you talking on?
No, from Muscle Creek.
Yes.
Muscle Creek, southwest past the barn vets towards the racetrack.
Sydney Street. So the
Yes,
articulate
Paul-
better, it's from
Paul
Muscle
Eccles, Sydney Street.
Junction. Yeah. Right out.
Very
You
similar
wanna-
to the concrete retainer wall they have in Singleton. Doesn't have to be as high. It only needs to be about 1/2 metre high, because that will give us a fair hydroelectric flow onto the other side of town before it will come over it. But look at a 1/2 metre high concrete retainer wall, just the cost of what would be in the cost to protect the community along that riverbank.
Can I question councillor Bowditch?
Yeah.
You're saying a 1/2 metre high. You've come to a solution when you haven't answered, when the question hasn't been answered. Isn't the question, look at some form of levy from Muscle Creek to beyond the vets to protect that part of town from future flooding? Isn't that the question that you want to investigate? The answer of
Investigate the
1/2 metre
cost.
high.
Investigate the cost of a 1/2 metre high concrete levy, the same as what Singleton's got, but not as high. What it would cost us
Councillor
to.
Bowditch,
Yeah.
I think what councillor Sculls was trying to say is before coming to an outcome, we just want to investigate what needs to be put there rather than saying 1/2 metre, because it could be a metre in some places. I think he's trying to help you out there.
Yeah.
Just investigate the cost.
Part of the answer in the question.
Just that there's not a lot of room behind those houses. That's fine, yeah. Whichever way we want to go. I just want to look at. Yeah.
Investigate the cost of raising a retaining wall.
A levy from Muscle Creek to beyond the vets that will protect that area from flooding events. I don't know, what are you saying? 1 in 20 or 1 in 20 year flood event? That's your investigation.
Capture that. No, that's fine. The acting general manager's advised that we can look into that. That's no problem at all. Any other questions for the next? And I'm not too sure with our short turnaround between now and Christmas that it'll be the next meeting, and our staff resources might be in the new year. That's okay.
We've got the staff resources to do that.
We've got the.
I don't imagine there would be some fair bit of work to do that.
I'd imagine you'd go straight to a certain organisation that a certain councillor works for and ask them to do the work.
We've got hydrolysis reports and the likes from the vets. We have to look at the cost of engaging a consultant.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we're currently investigating a catchment management plan for Muscle Creek. We have a tenderer that may be preferred that we're looking to close on shortly. The scope of that work can be slightly adjusted, so we may be able to have an external consultant provide that if in-house resources are stretched.
We would need to know the extra costs that they create where we can get that can be fitted into that budget. So thank you. That That's fine, councillor Bowditch, you've heard that, did you hear that from Mr Chambers?
Could I also flag, Mr Mayor, that
Yes,
the
I
project,
heard that.
just the idea of putting a structure there, a lot of that structure is private property, a lot of structures, it's closes on private land. The actual full extent of the work involved is rather large. I'm not sure you're going to get an answer just by engaging with consultant.
Mr Chambers, do you have, sorry through you, Mr.
I understand as well that under the Rivers and Creeks Drainage policy that there is meant to be a shared cost between private landowners and council. However, council may wish to waive that. However, entry into some of these houses to construct a contiguous structure on private land may become complicated between that land and also DPIE water, who may need to be consulted in this process.
I think we'll just, we'll take the notice on, we'll take the question of notice and do some investigation. And come back. Answer. I understand the intent, councillor Bowditch, most certainly is to.
It would be, DPI water would be a good aspect to go to. No, I'm not employed by DPI water, but they have all the figures and the classes to do that. So if you speak to DPI EW, they can help with all of that. Thanks, councillor.
Thanks. Councillor Bowditch, any further questions for the next meeting? Neil, do I have a motion to go into closed council? Councillor Barry, is that way? Councillor Haas, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Say that unanimous.
They actually see conciliated.
Okay.
That's my bag.
So in resumption.
You has got my mouse.
In resumption. Excuse me. Sorry.
Starting bag.
Open council as we're recording. 16.1, the regional procurement tender, supply and delivery of bulk water treatment chemicals was moved as per recommendation of council officers. Tender 2022-2023-0541, cleaning services for the Muswellbrook Shire Council buildings and public toilets moved as per the council recommendation with an amendment to further investigate in-house employment for our public facilities. 16.3, tender 2022-2023-0545 bridge replacement was moved as per the recommendation from the council officers. 16.4, the tender 2021-2022-0535 supply and delivery of tractor was moved as per officer's recommendation. Tender 2022, 16.5, tender 2022-2023-05050. Supply installation of LED fire danger signs in Muswellbrook was moved as per the officer's recommendation. 16.6, requesting for quotations 2022-2023-0542 event management services reconnecting our community from the brook was moved as per officer's recommendation. And 16.7, project Thompson Street signalised intersection contract claim for variation was moved as per officer's recommendation. 16.8, 2019-2020 0406 Muswellbrook Aquatic Centre construction stage contract unapproved variation moved as per officer's recommendation. 16.9 was deferred for the next council meeting. 16.10 industrial leads discussion was moved and carried councillors, endorsed by councillors' recommendation. 16.11, the water supply agreement was moved as per officer's recommendation. 16.12, 41 Maitland Street, Class 1 appeal. Council resolved on option 1 of council's recommendation. And That is the end of the meeting until December. Thank you, councillors, public, staff. And media. So the meeting is closed at 5.